Hi, this is BJ Hathaway here in Augusta, Georgia, and in this video we're going to take a look at the golf swing of Tianlang Guan. If you're not familiar with him, he is a 14-year-old amateur from China, and he played in this year's Masters, which is where this video footage was shot at. Let's take a quick look at some of his stats. If you see the bottom left of the screen, we'll see his stats for the Masters tournament itself. 40.28% of greens in regulation, over 71% fairways, and he shot plus 12 for the tournament, which is really good, I think, for a kid. 14 years old, first time ever playing. Very difficult course and a lot of pressure. So we can definitely say that even if his golf swing is not perfect, it's definitely in the top 1% in the world. His ability to reproduce pretty consistent ball flight. But we can take a look and see, for some people they're going to see his swing and start to try to emulate certain parts of his swing or the complete swing. And so for this video, I just want to help you look at this swing and see what pieces would I suggest that you keep and what pieces would I maybe guide you away from. So we'll start with his posture here at address. Very clean, nice posture, very square setup, shaft running through the belt line or just above the waist, which is pretty standard on tour. And then we'll just go ahead and begin his swing. So he uses what I would describe as a shoulder turn takeaway, and you'll see how his shoulders are very active early in the takeaway, and that causes his club to really get underplayed pretty quick. And as he continues, his shoulders will get a little flat, and his hips will actually start to move towards the ball just a little bit. You'll see more of that right here. And I think that's a move in his body to try to stabilize against the swing getting even more flat. It's kind of a counterbalance move. So we'll see he's moving a little bit even closer to the ball, and now he's about done with the backswing. We'll see club face is pointed straight up in the air, which is relatively closed to the plane or the position where he started at address. So there's top of swing. We'll stop him there. And we'll just take a look at the shoulder turn angle at the top is a little flat compared to what we would like to see, which would be a measurement across the shoulders would be really close to matching the shaft plane at address. So a little bit of flat shoulder plane with the hips moving out towards the ball just a little. So that would be a little early extension even in the backswing. So with that flat of a move, what he does is he'll take his right shoulder and start to push it up a little bit to try to get those shoulders back on a normal plane. So that would be a fairly normal plane, but now what happens is the club is going to start getting a little steep here. So if he continued on that plane, he'd miss the ball. So then what he has to do, and all this is happening in microseconds, is he starts to extend upward with his spine angle. And we'll see from another view here in a minute just how much he extends up off the ground. But you'll see that club is still underplaying. Now he hit this shot. I was there. I'll film this. It was a nice little draw. So the club face was open enough compared to that path to only be a few degrees shut to the path. Into the follow-through. So when I see this swing, when you get an overly flat turn in the shoulders and the arms are a little flat, what he does is steepen the downswing and then stand up, basically, to try to get that club back on plane. So, through the fairway shots, 71%, that's pretty impressive. But you look at his greens in regulation, 40%. So that tells me that this movement of springing up early is easier to control because the ball's up on a tee. But you get ground contact off a fairway shot, a little bit harder to predict with accuracy. So look at the face-on view. And we'll see from this view as he gets flat with that turn, he'll also right about here start to bend his right wrist backwards, which is not a bad thing, but it does shut the club face. We'll see just how much the face is pointed up to the sky here, and just how much right wrist bend he has here. It's quite a bit. Dustin Johnson does the same thing, so it's definitely not something you cannot do, but you have to know how to manage the downswing. And what that requires is to hold that angle without rolling the club face or rolling the shaft around and shutting the face. Now this one ended up being a little bit shut. This is off the first tee. You can see the face angle's a little shut there. But look at what he does on the downswing. Okay, so both heels are off the ground at impact. And so to me that's a little bit harder to control as far as consistency of contact, especially if the ball's on the ground. Ball's on a tee, you've got some leeway. A lot of side bend into the finish. Okay. And then we'll look at iron swing. This is where we can really see the early extension in the spine and how that causes him to basically launch up off the ground. So at impact, both heels are completely off the ground. So obviously very talented. Lots of years spent practicing this swing so he can master the timing and pretty much compete at golf's highest level. But is it absolutely the best way to swing? And there's very few people on earth who have an ideal swing, but we can kind of measure and go, okay, what are the things that we would definitely emulate and what things would we maybe kind of shy away from? So we'll see how he steepens that club with his right shoulder kind of pops up, and then the club is now a little steep, and then he has to shallow out by raising up to get that path moving more to the right. So my suggestion as a teacher would be, first of all, is to try to rotate the left shoulder a little bit more down in the takeaway instead of more of a rounded. He uses a rounded type motion to get the club started behind him. It takes his hands behind him, takes the club behind him. So we'll see just how flat his shoulders are there. But let's take a quick look at a swing that I think is really good. So this is Mike Bennett, stack and tilt teacher. A lot of people think stack and tilt is a very flat swing. So we'll see how Mike's shoulders turn on an angle that's very similar to the shaft plane at address. And that helps him keep the club more close to the plane going back. And there's the top of his swing. So left arm pretty much matching the shoulder turn. Not a lot of need for any early extension in the downswing. Okay, it's a little bit more repeatable move. So if I were a player watching Tianlang's swing and going, wow, I love that swing, I could copy it exactly, then I would just make a few notes. Let's go back and find him. He jumped out of here. So really getting flat here with the shoulder turn. So if I were his teacher, I would say let's work on for a while. Let's try to get that left shoulder working a little bit more down in the takeaway and keeping the club from getting behind us so much so that we can create some consistency in the shoulder turn plane. And then I would not really mess with the club face being shut at the top as long as he's able to continuously control the amount of rotation he puts in the shaft on the downswing. But for a player who has that position at the top, we just have to understand that that's shut, so we cannot rotate the wrist around in the downswing, or we will never find the golf ball because it will always be in the left woods. So there's my look at his swing. It's a good swing. It's repeatable for him, but compared to what we know about golf swings and what we think are the ideal ways to move in relationship to the swing plane, we would definitely work on getting the shoulders turning steeper a little bit and keeping his butt back into the backswing and the downswing. But some of these things developed through his playing career as a result of the movements in the backswing, of having to steepen the shoulder plane and launch up off the ground, and that's why we see some of these movements in his swing. So there's my look. If you've got any questions or comments, please post them on YouTube. Be glad to hear what you have to say, and be sure to join us if you're on Facebook. We are right here for you to find, facebook.com/AugustaGolf. Be glad to have you join us. Thank you.